Now at 9, we hear from the deputy whose quick thinking saved the life of a woman hit by a train in Labette County, Kansas. Plus,
as more begin to travel for the upcoming holiday season, the Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas is providing free at-home COVID-19 tests. I'm Bronte Sorotsky with how they work and how they can keep you safe this holiday season.
With COVID cases on the rise, President Biden says the holidays are no time to ease up the fight. I'm Mallory Rivera in Washington with the president's strategy for upping its pandemic efforts coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A Labette County deputy used a ratchet strap as a makeshift tourniquet to save the life of a woman hit by a train. That's just one piece of information we learned today when speaking with Deputy Gabe Vitt. Sunday, the deputy responded to a call that a pedestrian had been hit by a train. When he arrived, he found the woman whose leg had been severed.
If mindset had tunnel vision, that's where I was at, and my main focus was to get a tourniquet and get it on as fast as possible. Whenever I did get out of the vehicle, I did hear her screaming, help me, please hurry.
Vitt has been a full-time deputy for less than a year. A lot of people are expected to travel as we get closer to Christmas. Now, with a new variant of COVID-19 quickly becoming the dominant strain, the Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas is providing a way for people to quickly find out whether they have COVID. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky has how the at-home tests work and how they can help keep the community safe.
Cooper Neal is like many that will be gathering with family over the holidays. Although with COVID-19 still a concern, Neal says he wants to make sure he can celebrate safely, especially as an educator in the community.
I think returning from Thanksgiving break gave us an indicator that, people are gathering and this is still a real issue in our community and our nation.
It's why he was one of many at the Pittsburgh Public Library picking up an at-home COVID-19 test.
I'm mostly concerned about going back to school and being safe, but yeah, I want to be extra safe for fam and friends this year.
Neal wasn't the only person lining up for an at-home test. People were lining up throughout the library for a number of reasons, from recent exposures to playing it safe right before the holidays. If your test comes back negative, you're in the clear, but if you get a positive result, your next step should be either seeing your healthcare provider or taking a visit to your local health department.
Testing is still very important, especially if you're going to be with family over the holidays. And then this is a quick way that you can see whether or not you're negative. If the tests are positive, it's really just a screening.
These tests weren't designed with just the holidays in mind either.
And that's kind of the instructions from the federal government. I mean, they didn't give them to us in anticipation of the holidays. They are providing them to our communities as long as we are facing different COVID variants.
As we continue to navigate the pandemic, the health center tells us they hope this will serve as an additional layer of protection. In Pittsburgh, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Now, these at-home tests are not a substitute for lab testing if mandated by your employer. Might be the holiday season, but with COVID cases on the rise, President Biden says it's no time for Americans to let down their guard. Madeline Rivera is in Washington with more on what the president had to say to the nation today in a speech at the White House.
I promised when I got elected I'd always give it to you straight from the shoulder. The good, the bad, the truth.
In a speech 4 days before Christmas, President Biden worked to assure Americans the fight against COVID-19 is working, even as the nation experiences a surge in new cases, 73% due to the latest variant, Omicron.
While COVID has been a tough adversary, we've shown that we're tougher.
But with long lines stretching across COVID testing sites, the president also announced it's time to up the nation's attack on the virus, starting with making vaccines more readily available and improving access to testing. The plan calls for providing Americans 500 million at-home COVID tests for free next month simply by signing up online.
The bottom line is it's a lot better than it was, but we're taking even more steps to make it easier to get tested and get tested for free.
Plus, hospitals seeing a surge in patients will get a surge in support from the federal government.
The strain and stress is real. I really mean it. It's real. And we'll have their backs, though.
But Republicans say the Biden administration's 2022 plans should focus less on mandates and more on providing transparency and information.
We need to not be attacking the American people. We need to provide reassurances. We need to give them hope, give them information and data to make good decisions for themselves.
President Biden also delivered a warning to the nearly 40 million Americans still not vaccinated, saying the number of people being hospitalized or dying will only go up the longer they hold off. In Washington, Mallory Rivera, Fox News.
President Biden was also pressed on his Build Back Better agenda, which is stalled in Congress. When asked if he felt betrayed by Democratic moderate Senator Joe Manchin, who said he was no on the plan, the president responded he and Senator Manchin would get something done, while pointing to yesterday's drop in stocks as evidence his plan would have only helped the U.S. economy. Hunters in Missouri killed 5 elk in the second year of hunting of the animal in the state, 3 with firearms and 2 during the archery portion of the hunting season. The Missouri Department of Conservation says the total matched the 5 elk taken in 2020. This year, the firearms elk hunting period was December 11th through the 19th. The archery portion ran October 16th through the 24th. 5 hunters were chosen for elk permits through a random drawing. The Conservation Department says elk are native to Missouri, but were hunted to extinction in the state in the late 1800s. Elk have been restored through years of efforts to reintroduce the animals. A Black History mural on a college campus in St. Louis, Missouri was defaced over the weekend. According to Washington University officials, the mural normally displays the faces of prominent black figures. The walkway where it's located connects the main buildings of the Danforth campus to most student housing. Sometime Saturday, the mural was covered with the logo and symbols of a known white supremacist group. A letter from university officials said students informed them about the vandalism. The leaders hope that surveillance video will help identify the vandals. The Washington University Police Department is investigating. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time to honor another four-state hero. Technical Sergeant James Cassidy Jr. served in the U.S. Air Force during the Vietnam War. His hometown, Oronogo, Missouri. And we are proud to salute Technical Sergeant James Cassidy Jr. He's tonight's four-state hero. Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast. And later we'll look at the importance of food banks during the holiday season and see how you can help stock local pantries.
Not a bad Tuesday for us today. Temperature is pretty good. Most of us went into the mid-50s at 4 highs, but we actually have a big warm-up heading in our direction over the next few days. In fact, we're going to press record highs by Christmas Eve. We do have a weak system that rolls through on Christmas Eve, but in general, it looks like most of the moisture is going to be to our east. Another storm system on Sunday, a couple more next week. Of course, you can get my long-range forecast on my month-long blog. That is KOAMNewsNow.com. Look at this month. So far, we've had some cold days sprinkled in there, but majority of the days, 50s, 60s, and 70s, which is crazy. So we've had 16 of our 21 days have been above average, and it looks like as we go through the next couple days, we're going to keep that trend going. Looks pretty good right now. Nice shot. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Of course, Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri. It is cold outside now. It's going to be a cold night, as most of us are dropping back low to mid 30s as of right now, and I think most of us are going to go back into the upper 20s later on tonight. We kind of had a weak southerly wind all day, then a weak little cold front has slipped through. That's why we're cooling down, so we have a very light north wind or near calm, but it looks pretty good. It's 38 right now. We have pretty much calm winds. Humidity is at 73%, and as we go through the overnight hours tonight, we're going to continue to see pretty much clear skies. I had a few little clouds kind of sneak through with that front, but besides that, there's nothing going on. The entire Central Plains is pretty calm. If we look out toward the west, there's a little ridge of high pressure. That's what's going to warm us up the next few days. Right behind it, we have this weak system, which is going to roll in on Friday. It really looks like it's just going to give us clouds, but something we'll keep our eyes on over the next few days. All right, let's go through tonight. Upper 20s. So a cold start tomorrow, but we get southerly winds back. It's going to help us warm near 50 by noon. I think most of us will go into the upper 50s for afternoon highs. Here's your day planner starting at 28, 51 by noon. High temp of 57. A south wind is going to be light at about 5 to 10. Mostly clear skies tomorrow night until late. We'll get some clouds working in, so a lot of clouds on Thursday, but still temperature is pretty good as we go into the 60s for highs. A lot of clouds again Thursday night, and then heading into Friday. Of course, Friday is Christmas Eve, and I think we're going to go into lower 70s. The record high is 73, so we're going to make a run at that as we head into Friday afternoon. We do get a cold front by Christmas Day, but it's not going to cool us down much. So mid 60s, and then on Sunday we got a wave coming through that should give us some showers. Another system rolls in on Tuesday. As of right now, this looks like rain, maybe rain over to snow, and then another system right behind it by the time we head into Thursday, which could be rain over to snow. So it doesn't really pick up as we go into next week. 57 tomorrow, 61 on Thursday, 72 by Friday, 66 on Christmas Day, and then those rain chances sneaking in early next week. Dow?
Coming up, food banks play a vital role in the lives of many Americans struggling to make ends meet. That role grows during the holiday season. We're going to look at what they're facing as inflation makes stocking pantries even harder and how you can help here in the 4 states. During this holiday season, we highlight the importance of food banks and food pantries and the thousands of families who depend on them. Food pantry visits are up 30% since the start of the pandemic. About 42 million Americans are experiencing food insecurity. Reporter Jamie Yukas has more.
Greek chicken chow mein. Nice.
Once or twice a month, Bridget and Kevin Littlefield visit the Open Door Pantry food shelf in Eagan, Minnesota.
Does a box of cereal go pretty far?
Hey. Bridget works full-time in a restaurant and Kevin is semi-retired. They have 2 teenage daughters and a niece at home.
You know, sometimes you need it, you know what I mean, just to get you through to the next payday.
We have about 8 to 10 million pounds of food in this warehouse.
Million with an M.
Yes.
Allison O'Toole is the CEO of Second Harvest Heartland, one of the largest food banks in the country.
Out of here, we can get 3 things.
Second Harvest Heartland supplies Open Door Pantry, where the Littlefields go.
When you look at people like the Littlefields, I think one of the things that strikes me is that the mother works for a restaurant. She works in food service and she needs to be able to still feed her family and can't.
That's right.
Are there dozens, hundreds of families like that?
Thousands of families like that.
Inflation isn't helping the situation. According to the USDA, grocery prices were 5.4% higher last October than they were the year before, and the price of meat has increased double digits. O'Toole says it's leaving families strapped, and it's also impacting food banks who source their own food.
I think there's this idea that because you're a charity, you must be able to source for free.
We don't. We've purchased more food than ever before.
Anything out of here you want?
Back at the Open Door Food Pantry, the Littlefields are grateful.
You should never feel embarrassed or ashamed. You know, if you need help, come get it, you know, and then when you're able to, you give back, kind of like what we do.
Because at times, Littlefield says, we all need that little extra help.
You guys take care.
Thank you, sweetie.
Stay warm out there.
Yeah.
Jamie Yukas, Brooklyn Park, Minnesota.
A lot of 4-staters rely on food banks, and this time of year budgets can be especially stressed. That's why Fox 14 is conducting its 18th annual Feed the 4 States food drive. We're collecting non-perishable food items for area food pantries like Crosslines and Wesley House during this season of high demand. You can also make a monetary donation online at koamnewsnow.com/feed. The food drive will continue until December 31st. Just ahead.
Holiday travel expected to be extra busy this year. I'm David Lee Miller in New York with the details of what you can expect before hitting the road.
Most wonderful time of year could easily become the most frustrating time of year as travelers deal with long lines and new concerns over the rapidly spreading Omicron variant. David Lee Miller has details.
'Tis the season to get away, and if you're planning to leave home, you're one of more than 109 million Americans expected to travel for the holidays. This year's uptick in travel comes after many passed on family gatherings last year over coronavirus concerns. And holiday travel is already in full swing. AAA projecting roughly 6.4 million airline passengers this holiday season. That's an increase of 184% over last year. Some airports will likely see a record number of travelers. Miami International already setting an all-time record for passengers over this holiday break. And as we deal with the busiest travel season in at least 2 years, folks need to be prepared for long lines at check-in and for security screenings.
Make sure you get to the airport early. If you're taking a domestic flight, I would say 2 hours early. International, probably 3 hours.
Heavy passenger volume comes as cases of the Omicron variant increase, but that's not deterring many who want to get away, prompting TSA officials to remind travelers about mask mandates in an effort to keep everyone safe.
There is an aggressive enforcement policy and campaign in effect. That's in all areas at the airport, the terminals, the ticket counters, down in the gates, and on board the airplane.
Hitting the road, over 100 million Americans expected to travel by car, and drivers need to be prepared for slowdowns, especially in major metropolitan areas where delays could double or triple typical drive times. Drivers getting the gift of slightly lower gas prices nationwide, down an average of 2 cents from last week at $3.31 a gallon. In New York, David Lee Miller, Fox News.
Might soon cost you a little more for your next international getaway. Passport book fees are going up $20 starting December 27th. Next week, fees for travelers 16 and older will be $165 for first-time passport holders. The price to renew a passport will be $135. The State Department says it's now processing passport applications in 8 to 10 weeks. Hard seltzer company Vizzy wants to take the edge off of any delays or cancellations in your travel. The brand is offering 5,000 free gift cards for their product if travelers experience a flight delay. The company is taking online registrations through Thursday for the Bubbly Boost. And with the new year comes a fresh start, but a majority of Americans do not expect their finances to improve in 2022. According to a Bankrate survey, nearly half of adults think their financial situation will stay the same, and about 1 in 4 believe it will get worse. Most say they're concerned about the impact of inflation. Next, after a successful surgery, conjoined twins in Yemen return home. Formerly conjoined twins have returned home after a successful surgery to separate them in Jordan. UNICEF says Ahmed and Mohammed were joined at the chest and abdomen when they were born last December. Doctors moved them to a specialty hospital in Amman, Jordan for separation surgery in July. After months of recovery, the family is back in Yemen. UNICEF and private donors covered all the costs of the procedure. The organization says this is one happy story among millions of children suffering in Yemen after 7 years of civil war. Here's more proof that Santa really gets around this time of year. In addition to Dancer and Prancer, it seems the jolly old elf is also hanging out with sharks and stingrays and 2,000 other fish species at the Aquarium in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. That is well south of the North Pole. Santa, or at least one of his helpers, wore a familiar red suit during his scuba dive, where he was joined by Mrs. Claus and other Christmas characters feeding the aquatic creatures. Getting handouts from Santa Claus is a good sign that none of these fish, at least, are on the naughty list. Ho, ho, hold your breath, Santa. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Coming up, after just over a year in operation, Missouri's medical marijuana industry hits a sales milestone. And new cameras at the Crawford County Jail focus on security, but officials say they can play another role as well. 14 months after the first sale of medical marijuana in Missouri, the state has reached a milestone. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services reports dispensaries in the state have sold $200 million in product. Missouri has more than 158,000 qualified medical marijuana patients and 3,200 caregivers. Crawford County Jail has added some new eyes. Officials have added cameras to the facility. Cameras are operated and positioned in such a way to prevent blind spots, ensuring security for inmates and jail staff. They also allow jailers to spot potential mechanical issues before they become worse.
It's just one of those things that it keeps the staff safe, it keeps the inmates safe, We've had a couple of things where a couple of our staff members have been assaulted, and a couple of times those have happened in kind of blind spots. We've also had things happen in the cells where inmates may have been attacked, or there may be some other thing going on that they're not supposed to be doing.
The jail added around 40 cameras. The search is on to replace outgoing Pitt State President Steve Scott. He announced earlier this year that he's stepping down from the position in June of 2022 after 13 years in that position. The university announced today it's accepting applications for Scott's replacement. They described the university's next leader as an entrepreneurial, enterprising, empowering presence. It was the first full day of deliberations in the trial of former Minnesota officer Kim Potter. Jurors are weighing testimony from dozens of witnesses. Garrett Tenney has more.
Jurors in the Kim Potter trial working to reach a verdict in their second day of deliberations. The panel of 6 men and 6 women returned to court around 9 a.m. local time. They'll decide whether to convict the former Minnesota police officer of manslaughter in the shooting death of Daunte Wright. Jurors are considering testimony from more than 30 witnesses, most notably Potter herself. She apologized on the stand last week, telling jurors she mistook her gun for a taser.
She testified that she didn't want to hurt anybody and often grew emotional as she testified about the moments when she shot Wright.
But prosecutors say a mistake is no defense. They argue Potter was negligent and violated years of training when she shot Wright with her firearm instead of a taser.
She knew she had a loaded gun on her duty belt, a gun that she carried every single day on the job. She carried it on the right side every day for 26 years.
Legal experts say there's a small difference between accidental conduct and negligence, and jurors may struggle to differentiate between the two.
There's a very fine line between a mistake and culpable negligence or recklessness. The law struggles to differentiate between the two, and so do jurors when they come to deliberate.
The jury has been fully sequestered during deliberations. The judge says if a verdict is not reached before Christmas Eve, the panel will continue its discussions next week. Kim Potter is facing up to 15 years in prison if convicted. In Minneapolis, I'm Garrett Tenney, Fox News.
A bit later.
Kids receiving therapy in school as part of their studies? I'm Kevin Cork with more on the new concept aimed at combating the pandemic's negative effect on kids' mental health. That's coming right up.
Not a bad Tuesday for us today. Temperature is pretty good. Most of us went into the mid-50s at 4 highs, but we actually have a big warm-up heading in our direction over the next few days. In fact, we're going to press record highs by Christmas Eve. We do have a weak system that rolls through on Christmas Eve, but in general, it looks like most of the moisture is going to be to our east. Another storm system on Sunday, a couple more next week. Of course, you can get my long-range forecast on my month-long blog. That is KOAMnewsnow.com. Look at this month. So far, we've had some cold days sprinkled in there, but majority of the days, 50s, 60s, and 70s, which is crazy. So we've had 16 of our 21 days have been above average, and it looks like as we go through the next couple days, we're going to keep that trend going. Looks pretty good right now. Nice shot. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Of course, Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri. It is cold outside now. It's going to be a cold night as most of us are dropping back low to mid 30s as of right now, and I think most of us are going to go back into the upper 20s later on tonight. We kind of had a weak southerly wind all day, then a weak little cold front has slipped through. That's why we're cooling down, so we have a very light north wind or near calm, but it looks pretty good. It's 38 right now. We have pretty much calm winds. Humidity is at 73%, and as we go through the overnight hours tonight, we're going to continue to see pretty much clear skies. I had a few little clouds kind of sneak through with that front, but besides that, there's nothing going on. The entire Central Plains is pretty calm. If we look out toward the west, there's a little ridge of high pressure. That's what's going to warm us up the next few days. Right behind it, we have this weak system, which is going to roll in on Friday. It really looks like it's just going to give us clouds, but something we'll keep our eyes on over the next few days. All right, let's go through tonight. Upper 20s, so a cold start tomorrow, but we get southerly winds back. It's going to help us warm near 50 by noon. I think most of us will go into the upper 50s for afternoon highs. Here's your day planner starting at 28, 51 by noon. High temp of 57. A south wind is going to be light at about 5 to 10. Mostly clear skies tomorrow night until late. We'll get some clouds working in, so a lot of clouds on Thursday, but still temperature is pretty good as we go into the 60s for highs. A lot of clouds again Thursday night, and then heading into Friday. Of course, Friday is Christmas Eve, and I think we're going to go into lower 70s. The record high is 73, so we're going to make a run at that as we head into Friday afternoon. We do get a cold front by Christmas Day, but it's not going to cool us down much, so mid 60s. And then on Sunday, we got a wave coming through that should give us some showers. Another system rolls in on Tuesday. As of right now, this looks like rain, maybe rain over to snow, and then another system right behind it by the time we head into Thursday, which could be rain over to snow. So it doesn't really pick up as we go into next week. 57 tomorrow, 61 on Thursday, 72 by Friday, 66 on Christmas Day, and then those rain chances sneaking in early next week. Dow?
Coming up in sports, the Joplin Eagles aim to stay undefeated at home against Parkview. Plus, another Chief star lands on the NFL's COVID-19 list. Jacob Leonard has that and more next.
Well, the Joplin Eagles are off to a hot start in their first season under head coach Bronson Shockey. Now, the Eagles are undefeated, 7-0 in the first month this season. Tonight, Joplin trying to stay perfect with a home game against the Parkview Vikings. A really slow start for Joplin. Elijah Whitley straight to the rim for 2. Then TJ Hill, 3 from the top of the key. Vikings up 12-3 after 1. All right, got going in the second for the Eagles. Finishes on the break. Then Wright, good from the corner. 9 for All Right in the second quarter. Joplin, though, down 24-14 at half. Third quarter, always Wright to the rim and the foul. Eagles cut it to a 2-possession game for a minute. Parkview closes the third quarter strong. Shane Glass, two-handed jam on the break. Vikings hand Joplin their first loss of the season, 60-47. The Missouri Tigers are about 24 hours away from playing in their final game of the football season. The Tigers face Army tomorrow night in the Armed Forces Bowl in Fort Worth, Texas. Now, Mizzou finished the regular season with an even 6-6 record. On the other side, Army is 8-4. Now, the Tigers will be without one of their best players in running back Tyler Beatty. He's declared for the NFL draft. He will sit the game out. But cool side note here. Mizzou running backs coach Curtis Looper is an Army veteran himself. So facing Army in the Armed Forces Bowl, kind of a cool moment for him.
When I found out we were playing Army, I was excited, very excited. We had just done a lot for Veterans Day, Veterans Weekend at Mizzou. So I'm a proud veteran, and I'm proud to be playing against Army. The discipline that I learned in the military, I definitely use that, some of the tactics with my players, probably, chain of command, because in the military, you respect the rank, not the person. So my players, we let them know everyone has a boss. Here's the chain of command.
The Kansas City Chiefs have added 6 players to the NFL's COVID list today, including wide receiver Tyreek Hill and linebacker Nick Bolton. That brings the total number of Chiefs on the COVID list to 14, with the players today joining Travis Kelce, Harrison Butker, and others. Now, if the players are vaccinated like Kelce is, they have a chance to be back in time for the team's game against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday. Right now, it's a fluid situation that the team and head trainer Rick Burkholder are taking day by day.
We just got to see how it goes. I mean, there's a matrix of things that you've got to kind of work out. That's where Rick comes in. I can't sit here and tell you how all that works right now, but Rick can, and he's working. He's going to work through everything every day and see where we're at. But it's day to day as you go.
And that's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
With Omicron cases increasing, the pandemic appears to have no end in sight, and it's having a real impact on some children. But some educators think they have a solution, from dancing and jumping to relieve frustration, to just opening up about their feelings. Kids in some schools are taking part in behavioral therapy sessions to help improve their mental health. Kevin Cork reports.
You're probably familiar with the standard subjects taught in school, like math, science, English, and history. But soon, a growing number of kids could be exposed to a new topic, therapy.
Feelings is my heart and my body, what's going on in there.
As psychology experts across the country say the pandemic is taking an extensive toll on children's mental health, some schools are embracing the concept of incorporating behavioral therapy into the classroom to help kids cope.
Kids just really anxious, not knowing what's going on at home, not knowing what's going on at school. I've seen a decent amount of self-harm thoughts with kids that they just feel completely overwhelmed.
The therapy lessons center around helping kids better understand their emotions and express their feelings, and are already underway in elementary and middle schools in Paw Paw, Michigan.
I think it's really cool that the teachers actually care about how we're doing in life, other than just like our grades and everything.
Students and behavioral specialists also work together in groups to tackle tough topics, including anxiety, depression, and even suicide prevention.
Feelings are very important, and I think that people should definitely know that, so they don't do something because of their feelings that gets them in trouble.
And therapy lessons like these could be coming at a very good time. According to a recent study from the Associated Press and MTV, roughly half of all teenagers say they're struggling to stay happy throughout the pandemic. I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
The U.S. had its slowest population growth on record this year. New Census Bureau figures released today show population grew in 2021 by some 392,000 people. That's a 0.1% growth, and the slowest national rate ever recorded. It's also the first time since 1937 that the U.S. population grew by fewer than 1 million people. While population growth has been slowing in recent years, the COVID-19 pandemic is what really affected overall growth. Demographers say coronavirus is leading to less international migration, decreased fertility, and it killed more than 800,000 Americans, lowering the overall population. Pardes Biosciences says it's developed a new COVID-19 antiviral pill. The drug maker says the pill does not require a booster, and phase 1 testing should be completed early next year. The FDA has yet to authorize a coronavirus treatment pill, but is currently reviewing new medications from Merck and Pfizer. Getting less structured, more enjoyable exercise may help with sustainable weight loss more than strict workouts. A new study published just found that frequent periods of feel-good movement were more likely to offer long-term health benefits. This was compared to long sessions on the treadmill. Researchers say the key is to move more often. Doctors should prescribe fewer antidepressants and for shorter periods of time. That's according to a study out of the UK. Study authors came to this conclusion because of long-lasting withdrawal symptoms and possible side effects associated with the drugs. They also suggested while the drugs may help severely depressed patients, the cons could outweigh the pros for those with mild to moderate depression. The holidays can be stressful, and according to a new survey, 1 in 5 parents say their holiday stress hurts their child's enjoyment of the season. The survey from the University of Michigan also finds 1 in 4 parents admit to setting over-idealistic holiday expectations, and that twice as many moms are stressed out as dads. But nearly all parents said the holidays are generally a happy time for their families. Up next, we'll check out how Santa is spreading cheer all around the world. Santas all around the world are putting their talents on display. These St. Nics are helping fuel the festivities as the countdown to Christmas continues. Chris Demio has a special look.
These are definitely not your average Santas. All around the world, people are dressing up as the Jolly Man in Red as they spread Christmas cheer in uniquely festive ways. Over in Italy, dozens of Santa Clauses and helpful elves are converting one of Venice's famous canals into a winter wonderland, floating down the waterway in gondolas for this holiday parade. Santas in Brazil, on the other hand, are swapping their sleigh bells for scuba gear, swimming with sharks and stingrays at this aquarium in Rio.
Happy to share this joy with the children and to see this joy as a response to our work.
But besides bringing smiles to visitors, these divers hope to inspire optimism heading into the new year.
The message we bring is, don't stop believing. Let's have hope for 2022 and that it will be much better than 2021.
And you've probably heard of Run Run Rudolph, but what about a jogging St. Nick? Hundreds of runners in Venezuela gave Santa's bulky uniform a marathon-friendly makeover for this 6 Miles Santa Claus fun run in Caracas.
For a runner, it is the way to celebrate Christmas. We get dressed as Santa, put on hats, the color red, everyone together to run as a family.
Thousands of runners in Spain also took to the streets of Madrid over the weekend for a Santa-themed charity run, raising funds for the victims of this year's volcanic eruption on the Spanish island of La Palma. Meantime, the real Santa Claus still prefers to travel by sled, and according to the North American Aerospace Defense Command, Santa usually starts his journey around the world in the South Pacific. Chris DeMayo, Fox News.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with a look at some holiday lights in Sydney, Australia. Let's make it a great tomorrow.